Guys, I'm really happy to welcome to the podcast Stacy Washington. She's a radio host. In fact, she hosts a show called Stacy on the Right. I've been really delighted to be on the show from time to time. She's also the communications director of Family Vision Media. She served as co-chair of Black Voices for Trump. And she is the author of a new book. It's called Eternally Cancel Proof, a guide for courageous Christians navigating the political battlefront. Hey, Stacy, welcome. Great to talk to you. I guess the roles are reversed. I've been on your show and you've been interviewing me. Now it's my turn to interview you. And you've written a book about, Christianity and politics. And so let me start by asking you, is that how you came to politics, through your faith, or how did you become a conservative?
Well, Dinesh, thank you for having me on today. And yes, that's pretty much how it happened. And we were sitting in church. This is years ago. We had just one child, little baby, and we're sitting in church, and we get this statement that our pastor made. And I was thinking, wow, that does not line up with how we vote. And so that little nugget kind of started the ball rolling. And from there, I just kind of would compare sometimes, or a very big pivotal point was when we had he was a politician, a local politician who's no longer in office, came to the pulpit. And on a particular Sunday when our pastor had been pretty fiery about some biblical concepts, then that politician stepped into the pulpit and he was sharing, please vote for me and please, come out and knock doors for me. And then he began to talk about issues on the Democrat Party platform, the support of abortion or the right to choose, things like that. And I was like, wait a second, that's definitely not what the Bible tells us to do. And I thought, Am I approaching this correctly? Because I'm trying to live uprightly. Now that we have a child, I'm really focused on instilling these values into her. But I don't. That's not how I vote. And so I think that was the beginning of the journey.
Now, there are some pastors, as you know, more who have a certain fear of sort of crossing the political divide. In fact, sometimes Debbie and I listen online to a pastor, and what he says is something like, if you want to talk about politics, come see me for lunch and dinner, and I'll tell you what I think, but I don't view the pulpit as my role to talk about these matters. And he even means moral principles that bear upon politics. So what do you say to pastors who take that kind of narrow view that this is not their proper sphere?
Well, Dinesh, that's not what the founders based our Constitution on. So we actually have representative government, which is found in the Bible in Exodus 18. And then you have the Black Robe Regiment, which is what they called pastors back before we were even a country. And these men had fiery sermons that came from the pulpit that they actually wrote down in their own longhand. And then those pastors were, those sermons were shared. So those sermons were then given to the founders, and they used some of what they found in those sermons to base the Constitution upon. So we have the very founding of our nation rooted in this fiery oratory from the pulpit. And so today's pastors don't have a different legacy. They have that same ability. And it's a misinterpretation of the Johnson Amendment that is used by Democrats to frighten pastors into losing their tax-exempt status. But I encourage people, speaking truth, all of it's covered here. Politics is a tool. The Bible is our guide. And I cover in my book exactly how you're supposed to actually approach this from the biblical worldview, understanding that if you know what God's word says, and you're a Christian, you're empowered to speak truth. It's not just that you can speak truth at lunch or privately. It's that you're empowered to do it.
Now, the title of your book, Stacy, is Eternally Cancel Proof. And help me to sort of decode the title. Are you saying that the truths in the Bible are not just for this moment or that moment, that there's a kind of enduring or eternal value to them, and that no matter how much people may want to oppose those principles, you can't cancel them because they're rooted in reality. They're rooted in the way the universe is structured. They're rooted in human nature. Is that what you're getting at when you say eternally cancel proof?
Well, I know I need you to assist with any promotion we do over the next months with blurbs, because that was fantastic. But and that's true. But the main reason I call this book Eternally Cancel Proof is because a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, Stacy, you're so brave. This is easy for you. You're actually like, you don't have problems with people attacking you or sending you mean emails, or, you were canceled very publicly twice and you breezed right through it. And the fact is, I am afraid. I'm a human being. I experience fear and loathing and regret. And I sometimes do it scared. In fact, a lot of the time I'm out speaking. And especially when I used to fill in for big hosts, I'd fill in for the Dana Lash show or someone, Larry O'Connor show. And I would be literally kind of shaking before the mic would be hot. And then I would just do my job. And so I do it scared. I do it because it's the truth, but I'm empowered to do it. Much of the courage that I have comes directly from the fact that God tells us not to fear. He says, the enemy is under your feet. And he says, speak truth. He also says that blessing comes from obedience. So when I say eternally cancel proof, I fear no man, Dinesh. And I really feel like you're a great example of this, because you were improperly persecuted and sent to prison, which only made you stronger. You did a documentary from inside of basically the prison criminal factory system, and you broke down walls and barriers of understanding for people who we never would have experienced that had you not been so publicly ridiculed and vilified and attacked. And so it's the same with me. I liken it to Star Wars, Dinesh. When Obi-Wan and Lord Vader were standing there, and Obi-Wan told Lord Vader, if you strike me down, I'll only become more powerful. It's the same with us. I was canceled by the Post-Dispatch. I wrote for the NRA and was paid, even though I'd never been paid to write for them before. I was canceled for my radio show. Now I'm on Sirius XM. I consider those to be providential blessings of God. And I know that I wouldn't be as strong as I am in speaking out, especially as a Black woman. The attacks are much more personal. They're much more directed at my daughters and myself. And, they're more virulent. They're horrifying. But I can withstand that because I know no man can touch eternity for me. I've given my life to Jesus Christ, and I am eternally cancel proof. I could be canceled here 100 times. And what I tell people in chapter 9 is that you probably will be canceled. In today's culture, where simply telling the truth about gender, a woman is a woman, a man is a man, you can get fired. Brendan Ike was let go for donating lawfully to a cause that he believed in from his own company that he founded. And that was years ago, before we even had the term cancel culture. So Dinesh, eternally cancel proof means I fear no man. I'm telling the truth no matter what's in front of me, because it's my job. And I want to empower people by reading this book to do the same.
Let's take a pause, Stacy. When we come back, I want to talk to you about some of the principles that are laid out in your book and sort of the biblical foundation for them. We'll be right back.